Hello, this is UNIONE Global Discovery Series. In the previous video, we examined how opportunistic buyers behave in international trade. Today, we will look at what can happen when buyers place excessive pressure on a price. Price negotiation is a normal part of business, but when price becomes the only priority, it can weaken margins, reduce operational capacity, and eventually damage the entire trade structure. Price negotiation is a normal and necessary part of international trade. Buyers need competitive prices. Suppliers and exporters must also explain their cost, conditions, and operational requirements. Good negotiation does not mean that one side must lose. It means that both sides understand the commercial conditions and reach an agreement that can actually be executed. Negotiation is healthy when it protects the interests of both sides. The problem begins when negotiation becomes excessive pressure. A buyer may repeatedly demand a lower price without considering whether the transaction can still be performed properly. Every price reduction has an operational consequence. If margins become too low, the supplier or exporter may have less capacity to provide documents, communication, coordination, and their after-sales support. At that point, the apparent price benefit begins to create hidden risk. Margins are often misunderstood as simple profit. In reality, margin also pays for execution. It supports communication with factories, document preparation, inspection, logistics, coordination, problem solving, and transaction management. When margins are reduced too far, these services may also be reduced. The supplier may have less time and fewer resources to support the transaction properly. So margin is not only about profit, it is part of the operating capacity behind the deal. Service quality is one of the foundations of transaction stability. International trade involves many moving parts. Questions must be answered, documents must be checked, schedules must be coordinated, unexpected problems must be resolved. When service quality is strong, small problems can be managed before they become major disruptions. Reliable service therefore protects the transaction from avoidable errors and delays. When service quality declines, operational stability also begins to weaken. Communication may become slower, documents may contain more errors, responses may become inconsistent, problems may take longer to resolve. The transaction no longer follows a clear and predictable process. Instead, both parties spend more time correcting mistakes and managing uncertainty. Reduced service quality eventually becomes reduced. Extreme price pressure can also weaken supply commitment. A supplier may accept a very low price for one transaction, but if the business is not sustainable, the supplier may allocate fewer products, give priority to other buyers, or stop supplying completely. The buyer may believe that the price has been successfully reduced, but the result may be unstable supply. A price that cannot support continued production and service cannot support a long-term market. Supply instability eventually becomes delivery risk. Production may be delayed. The shipment schedule may change. Required quantity may not be available. The exporter may need to find alternative products or reorganize the shipping plan. These changes affect not only the supplier and exporter, they also affect customs clearance, warehouse operations, distributors, retailers, and customers in the destination market. Delivery risk creates uncertainty in the market. If products arrive late, local inventory may run out. Sales campaigns may need to be postponed. Retailers may not receive the products they expected. Customers may begin to question whether the brand can supply consistently. A delay that begins at the supplier level can eventually damage confidence throughout the distribution channel. Market must depend heavily on predictable delivery. Market continuity is difficult to build and easy to damage. A buyer may succeed in making one low-priced purchase, but if inventory cannot be maintained, the market cannot develop a stable sales rhythm. Distributors cannot plan repeat orders. Retailers cannot depend on the consistent availability. Customers may move to competing products. One successful shipment is not enough. A market grows only when supply and sales can continue repeatedly. Balanced pricing does not mean that buyers should accept any price. It means that the price must be commercially responsible for both sides. A fair margin allows the supplier and the exporter to maintain service capacity. They can prepare documents properly, coordinate schedules, respond to problems, and support repeat orders. Balanced pricing, therefore, creates the operating space required for stable execution. It protects the transaction from becoming structurally weak. Reliable supply is built through stable operation. Before shipment, the supplier must prepare products and packaging. The exporter must prepare documents and coordinate logistics. The buyer must prepare import procedures, payment, warehousing, and local sales. When each step is supported by a stable operating structure, the transaction becomes more predictable. Reliable supply is not created by price alone. It is created by preparation, coordination, and disciplined execution. Reliable supply supports market continuity. When inventory arrives as planned, distributors can manage stock more effectively. Retailers can maintain product availability. Marketing campaigns can be scheduled with confidence. Customers can purchase the product repeatedly. This creates a stable market rhythm. Stable inventory supports sales planning. Sales planning supports repeat business, and repeat business supports long-term growth. The purpose of a price should be support the transaction structure. Price must be competitive enough for the buyer to sell successfully. At the same time, it must be sufficient to support production, documentation, logistics, service, and supply continuity. A price that destroys the operating structure is not truly competitive. It may appear attractive at the beginning, but it creates greater cost and uncertainty later. Good pricing protects both market competitiveness and operational continuity. Price negotiation is part of international trade, but excessive price pressure can reduce margins, weaken service quality, destabilize supply, and create delivery risk. Delivery risk creates market uncertainty. Market uncertainty damages continuity. Balanced pricing does not mean weak negotiation. It means protect the operational structure that makes trade possible. Price should support structure. Structure supports continuity, and continuity supports long-term trade. Thank you for watching. Next video, G019, Gray Market Risk in Cosmetic Trade. See you again.